My name is Cole Merrick, and I've been invisible for 15 years. Not literally, of course. I still cast a shadow, still bump into furniture when I'm not paying attention, still leave coffee rings on the kitchen counter that make my wife Isla sigh with theatrical disappointment. But in every way that matters, socially, professionally, emotionally, I might as well be a ghost haunting my own life. Cole, stop fidgeting with your tie. Isla snaps, her manicured fingers batting mine away from my throat. You look like you're trying to hang yourself with it. We're standing in our bedroom, getting ready for her company's annual gala. The same bedroom where she's taken exactly 3 phone calls in the past week that she thought I couldn't hear. The same bedroom where she's been sleeping on her side of our king-sized bed, like there's an invisible wall down the middle. Maybe I am, I muttered, but she's already moved on to critiquing my shoes. Those are scuffed. Don't you have anything that doesn't look like you bought it at a thrift store? I want to remind her that I bought these shoes at Nordstrom 2 months ago, but what's the point? In Isla's world, I'm the supporting character who's supposed to blend into the background. The reliable husband who pays half the mortgage, picks up dry cleaning, and stands quietly at company functions while she networks with people who actually matter. Where exactly am I supposed to position myself tonight? I ask, because we've done this dance before. Behind the executives, near the bar, but not at the bar. You know how you get when you drink too much. I had 2 beers at the Christmas party, and you told Jenkins from accounting that his tie looked like a crime scene. It did look like a crime scene. Isla turns to face me, and for just a moment I see something flicker across her expression. Something that might be guilt if I didn't know better. But then it's gone, replaced by the practiced smile she wears like armor. Just don't embarrass me tonight, okay? This is important. Everything is important to Isla. Her career, her image, her standing in the social hierarchy of Meridian Financial Group. What's never important is how any of it affects me. I adjust my tie one final time and nod. Got it. Stand in the corner, smile when spoken to, and pretend I'm grateful to be there. You are grateful to be there, she says, but there's no conviction in her voice. The drive to the downtown Marriott takes 23 minutes, during which Isla spends exactly 0 seconds talking to me, and 22 minutes and 47 seconds texting someone whose contact name I can't see from the passenger seat. Her phone buzzes constantly, like an electronic heartbeat, and each notification makes her smile in a way she hasn't smiled at me in months. Work emergency? I ask when we're stopped at a red light. Just coordinating with the team, she says without looking up. The team. Right. The same team that includes Scott Williams, her supposed mentor who drives a Porsche and wears cologne that costs more than my monthly car payment. The same Scott Williams whose name has been popping up in Isla's conversations with increasing frequency over the past 6 months. The Marriott's ballroom is exactly what you'd expect from a corporate function. Crystal chandeliers, round tables draped in white linen, and enough floral arrangements to stock a funeral home. The kind of place where conversations happen in hushed tones, and everyone's measuring everyone else's net worth by the cut of their suit. Isla immediately abandons me for a cluster of women near the registration table. I recognize most of them. Megan Torres from HR, who gossips like it's an Olympic sport. Trish Campbell, who runs the compliance department and always looks like she's smelling something unpleasant. And Janet Kim, whose husband owns half the commercial real estate in the city. I make my way to my assigned position near the bar, close enough to look like I belong, far enough away to avoid accidentally inserting myself into important conversations. The bartender, a kid who can't be more than 25, gives me a sympathetic look. Rough crowd? He asks. You have no idea. What can I get you? Whiskey, make it a double. That kind of night, huh? That kind of marriage. He slides the glass across the bar with the practiced discretion of someone who's served plenty of miserable husbands at corporate functions. I take a sip and watch Isla work the room like she's running for office. She's good at it. The bright smile, the firm handshake, the way she tilts her head just so when someone's talking, as if their words are the most fascinating thing she's ever heard. It's the same performance she gave me when we first met 12 years ago at a coffee shop near the university. I was finishing my master's degree in computer science, working part-time at a tech support company that barely paid enough to cover rent. She was a junior analyst at a small investment firm, ambitious and beautiful, and seemingly charmed by my quiet, steady presence. "You're different from other guys," she told me on our third date. "You actually listen." What she meant, I realize now, was that I was easy to manage, predictable, safe. The ballroom fills up over the next hour. I recognize most of the faces, senior executives, department heads, a few clients who warrant special treatment. They all know Isla's name. Maybe half of them remember mine. "Cole, right?" says a voice behind me. I turn to find Marcus Chen, one of the senior partners. We've met exactly 4 times in the past 3 years. "That's right. Good to see you, Marcus. How's the consulting business?" "Can't complain." Which is true, mostly because no one would listen if I did. "Still doing the security audits?" "Among other things." He nods absently, already scanning the room for someone more important to talk to. "Well, good seeing you. Give my regards to... Isabel?" "Isla." "Right. Isla." He disappears into the crowd, leaving me alone with my whiskey and my wounded pride. This is my life, forgotten names, half-remembered conversations, and a wife who introduces me as my husband Cole in the same tone she might use to say, my accountant, or my dentist. The evening progresses exactly as expected until it doesn't. At 8:15, the conversations in the ballroom begin to quiet. Someone near the entrance is causing a stir, not the loud, disruptive kind, but the subtle shift in attention that happens when someone genuinely important enters a room. I can see her before she's formally introduced. Mid-40s, silver-streaked hair pulled back in a simple bun, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than my car. She moves with the kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. "Ladies and gentlemen," says Richard Hawthorne, the outgoing CEO, "I'd like you to meet Leora Ventral, who will be taking over as Chief Executive Officer effective Monday morning." Polite applause ripples through the room. Leora Ventral, the woman who engineered a hostile takeover of Meridian Financial in just under 3 weeks. The woman who's been profiled in Forbes and Fortune and every other business publication that matters. She's also the woman who's now scanning the ballroom like she's looking for someone specific. Isla, ever the opportunist, positions herself directly in Leora's path. I watch from my corner as my wife extends her hand, her smile cranked up to maximum wattage. "Ms. Ventral, I'm Isla Corvin, Senior Analyst in the Investment Division. I just wanted to welcome you to..." But Leora doesn't take her hand, doesn't even acknowledge her presence. Instead, she looks past Isla, past the cluster of executives trying to introduce themselves, past everyone who matters in this room. She looks directly at me, and then she starts walking toward me, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown timer. The conversations around her die away as people realize something unusual is happening, something that doesn't fit the script of a typical corporate function. I set my whiskey down on the bar, my hand suddenly unsteady. Leora stops 3 feet away from me, close enough that I can see the tears forming in her eyes. "I never stopped searching for you," she says, her voice breaking on the last word. Behind her I hear the distinctive sound of crystal hitting marble as Isla's champagne glass shatters against the floor. The ballroom has gone completely silent. I'm staring at a woman I haven't seen in 22 years, a woman who was supposed to believe I was gone forever. My sister Leora, who used to steal my Halloween candy and practice her piano scales at 6 in the morning just to annoy me. My sister who cried for 3 days straight when they told her I was gone. "Leora," I whisper, and her name feels foreign on my tongue after all these years. She takes another step closer, and I can see she's fighting to maintain her composure in front of a room full of strangers. The same way she fought not to cry when our father left, or when our mother got sick, or during any of the dozen other crises that shaped our childhood. "You look older," she says, and despite everything, I almost smile. "So do you. I kept your picture on my desk, the one from your college graduation. People always asked who it was, and I never knew what to tell them. I'm dimly aware that we have an audience, 200 people in formal wear, watching this reunion like it's dinner theater. But I can't seem to focus on anything except my sister's face and the impossible fact that she's standing here." "How did you find me?" I ask. "I didn't. Not exactly." She glances around the room, suddenly remembering where we are. "Maybe we should talk privately." "Yes," says a sharp voice behind her. "Maybe you should." Isla has recovered from her initial shock and is now standing beside us, her face a mask of polite confusion that doesn't quite hide the panic in her eyes. "I'm sorry," Isla says, extending her hand again. "I don't think we were properly introduced. I'm Isla Corvan, Cole's wife." Leora looks at her for a long moment, and I see something cold settle in her expression. "I know exactly who you are, Mrs. Corvan." The way she says it makes my stomach drop. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't a random encounter at a corporate function. Leora didn't just happen to end up as CEO of Isla's company. "I think," Leora continues, "the three of us need to have a conversation. Somewhere private." Richard Hawthorne appears at her elbow, looking flustered. "Ms. Ventral, if there's anything you need, a conference room," she says, without taking her eyes off me. "Something with a door that locks." "Of course. Right this way." As we follow him through the crowd, I catch fragments of whispered conversations. "Never seen anything like it. Who is that guy? Thought his name was Cole. Something's not right here." Isla walks beside me, her hand gripping my arm tight enough to leave marks. She's smiling, but it's the brittle smile she wears when she's terrified and trying to hide it. The conference room is on the hotel's second floor, all glass walls and expensive furniture. Richard closes the door behind us and hovers uncertainly. "That'll be all," Leora tells him. "Are you sure? If you need anything?" "I'm sure." He leaves, probably to spend the rest of the evening fielding questions about what just happened in his ballroom. The door clicks shut, and suddenly it's just the three of us in a room that feels much too small. Leora sits at the head of the conference table. Isla and I take seats across from each other like we're about to negotiate a business deal instead of discuss the fact that I've been living under a false identity for over 2 decades. "Before we start," Leora says, "I want you to know that I've had this conversation rehearsed in my head for years. I've imagined finding you in a dozen different scenarios. This wasn't one of them." "How long have you known?" I ask. "About you? 3 months? About her?" She nods toward Isla. "About a year." Isla has gone very still in her chair. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand what's happening here." "Of course you don't," Leora says. "You've been playing a game for 12 years without realizing that some of the other players knew the rules." "What game?" But even as Isla asks the question, I can see the understanding starting to dawn in her eyes. Leora opens her briefcase and pulls out a manila folder thick with documents. "Should I start with the forged estate papers, or would you prefer to begin with how you accessed classified military records through your father's DOJ connections?" The color drains from Isla's face. "I think," I say slowly, "you'd better start at the beginning." Leora spreads several documents across the table. Cole Merritt was declared lost in action 22 years ago during a classified operation in Eastern Europe. Dental records confirmed his demise. I received a flag and a medal and a very sincere apology from a colonel who couldn't tell me any details about how my brother passed away. She pulls out a photograph, my military ID photo from 1992. What they didn't tell me was that Cole had been extracted alive and placed in witness protection under a new identity. The operation had been compromised. and there were people who would have spent considerable resources hunting him down. The easiest solution was to let everyone believe he was gone. Including me, I say. Including you, apparently. They told you it would be temporary. 5 years, maybe 10, until the situation cooled down. But bureaucracy has a way of making temporary arrangements permanent. I remember those early years, the safe house in Oregon, the new social security number, the careful construction of a background that would pass casual inspection. They promised I'd be able to contact my family eventually. Eventually became never. I hired investigators, Leora continues, spent more money than I care to think about trying to find out what really happened to you. Got nowhere for 20 years. So what changed? I got rich. She says it matter-of-factly, without pride or embarrassment. Rich enough to buy companies, rich enough to access information that wasn't available before, rich enough to notice when someone started filing fraudulent claims against our mother's estate. She slides another document across the table. It's a probate filing, dated 18 months ago, claiming spousal inheritance rights for Cole Merritt's widow. Isla's signature is at the bottom. You want to explain this? Leora asks her. Isla's mouth opens and closes without making a sound. She looks like a fish gasping for air. I can explain it, I say, because suddenly everything makes sense. She knew who I was. She's known all along. Not all along, Leora corrects. My investigators traced the records access. She found out 3 years into your marriage, right around the time she started making inquiries about military survivor benefits. I turn to look at my wife, really look at her, and see a stranger. You married me for money. Money you thought you'd get when Leora passed away. It wasn't like that, Isla says, but her voice is barely a whisper. What was it like? I love you. I do love you. You love the idea of me, the quiet, dependable husband who doesn't ask too many questions and doesn't have any family to complicate things. Cole, please, how much? I ask Leora. How much was she trying to steal? 4.2 million. Our mother's entire estate, plus the life insurance payout I received when you were declared lost in action. $4.2 million. Enough to explain a lot of things. Why Isla always seemed disappointed in my modest consulting income. Why she never wanted to talk about having children. Why she's been so eager for me to take life insurance policies with her as the beneficiary. There's more, Leora says. The estate fraud was just the beginning. She's been positioning herself for years, building relationships with people who might be useful when the inheritance came through. People like Scott Williams? Leora nods. Her mentor at work. Also her lover for the past 8 months, though I suspect you already figured that out. I had, but hearing it confirmed still feels like a punch to the gut. Scott's been helping her navigate the legal complexities of claiming survivor benefits. He's also been feeding her information about potential investment opportunities, insider trading essentially, based on deals the company was negotiating. That's illegal, I say. Very illegal. The SEC has been building a case for months. Isla finally finds her voice. You can't prove any of this. Actually, I can. Leora pulls out another folder. Bank records, email communications, hotel receipts, phone logs. My forensic accountants are very thorough. Even if that's all true, Isla says, Cole is still legally lost in action. His identity now is fraudulent. If this comes out, he'll be the one in trouble. She's right, and we all know it. My current identity might not survive close scrutiny, especially if federal investigators start asking questions about witness protection programs. That's where things get interesting, Leora says, because I didn't just buy Meridian Financial to expose your fraud. I bought it to offer my brother a way out. She slides a business card across the table. Leora Ventrell, Chief Executive Officer. As of Monday morning, I'm your boss. Both of your bosses. The implications hit me slowly. Leora isn't just rich, she's powerful. Powerful enough to protect me from bureaucratic complications, powerful enough to make problems disappear, powerful enough to destroy Isla's life if she chooses to. What do you want? Isla asks. Justice, Leora says simply. My brother has spent 22 years thinking his family abandoned him. You've spent 12 years lying to him, stealing from him, and planning to profit from his supposed demise. That ends now. And if I refuse to cooperate? Then Monday morning, I'll hand everything over to the FBI, the SEC, and the IRS. You'll spend the next decade fighting federal charges while your lover Scott explains to his wife why he's been embezzling money to pay for hotel rooms. The room falls silent, except for the sound of Isla's ragged breathing. What kind of cooperation are you looking for? She finally asks. Complete cooperation. You'll confess to the estate fraud, return any money you've already accessed, and provide testimony against Scott Williams for the insider trading scheme. And in return? In return, I don't destroy you completely. It's not mercy, exactly. It's more like a controlled demolition instead of a nuclear bomb. Isla looks at me, searching for some sign that I'll intervene on her behalf, that I'll choose her over the sister I thought was gone forever. Cole, she says, we can work this out. We can fix this. But I'm already shaking my head. You can't fix 12 years of lies, Isla. You can't fix the fact that you married me for money I didn't even know existed. I do love you. Maybe you do. But you love money more. She starts to cry then, real tears, not the calculated emotional manipulation she's used on me before. But it's too late for tears. I need some air, I say, standing up from the table. Cole, Leora starts. I'll be back. I just need a minute to process all this. I leave them in the conference room and walk to the hotel's roof deck, where the city lights stretch out below like a circuit board. The night air is cool against my face, and for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe properly. My phone buzzes with a text message from a number I don't recognize. We need to talk. Meet me in the parking garage in 10 minutes. Come alone. S. Scott Williams. Apparently, word travels fast. I look back toward the hotel, where my wife and my sister are probably negotiating the terms of Isla's surrender. Then I head for the elevator. Time to have that conversation. The parking garage smells like motor oil and concrete dust. Scott Williams is waiting for me between a BMW and a Mercedes, looking like a man who's just watched his carefully constructed world collapse in real time. He's younger than me by maybe 5 years, with the kind of artificially perfect teeth that come from expensive dental work and the kind of tan that comes from weekend golf games with clients. His Porsche is parked behind him, gleaming under the fluorescent lights like a monument to his success. Cole, he says, extending his hand like we're meeting for a business lunch. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't shake his hand. What kind of misunderstanding? About Isla and me, about the nature of our relationship. You mean the nature of your affair? His smile falters slightly. It's not what you think. What I think is that you've been sleeping with my wife for 8 months while helping her commit federal crimes. Am I wrong? Look, Cole, can I call you Cole? This whole situation has gotten out of hand. Isla came to me for advice about some financial matters, and things just developed from there. Financial matters like how to steal my sister's inheritance? I wouldn't call it stealing, more like correcting an oversight. The casual way he says it makes my hands clench into fists. An oversight? You were declared legally lost in action. That makes Isla your widow, entitled to survivor benefits. The fact that you're actually alive is just a technicality. A technicality. From a legal standpoint, yes. I study his face, looking for some sign of shame or guilt or basic human decency. I don't find any. How long have you known who I really am? Isla told me about 6 months ago. She was worried about the complexity of the estate claims, wanted professional advice. And your advice was to commit fraud. My advice was to claim what was rightfully hers, What's rightfully yours, technically, since you're married. Except I didn't know about any of it. Well, that was Isla's decision. She thought it would be easier to handle the paperwork herself. Easier. Like stealing millions of dollars is just another item on a to-do list. What about the insider trading? I ask. What about it? Don't play dumb, Scott. I know you've been feeding Isla information about deals the company was negotiating. I may have mentioned a few opportunities in casual conversation. That's not insider trading. That's networking. It's a federal crime. It's business. He's either genuinely delusional or a much better actor than I gave him credit for. Either way, I'm starting to understand why Leora looked so disgusted when she talked about him. Here's what's going to happen, Scott continues. You're going to go back upstairs and tell your sister that this was all a big mistake. A misunderstanding between family members that got blown out of proportion. And why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows about your little identity problem. The military doesn't like it when people fake their own demise, even for national security reasons. There could be serious consequences. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining the situation. You cooperate, and everyone walks away from this without any permanent damage. You don't cooperate, and things get complicated for everyone. I take a step closer to him, close enough to smell his expensive cologne and see the nervous sweat starting to form on his forehead. Let me explain something to you, Scott. I spent 6 years in military intelligence before they put me in witness protection. I know how to make people disappear without leaving a trace. I know how to access bank accounts, phone records, and email servers that you didn't even know existed. His Adam's apple bobs as he swallows hard. More importantly, I continue, I know how to make your life very uncomfortable without doing anything technically illegal. Your Porsche, for instance. Beautiful car. Shame if someone were to accidentally key the paint job, or slash the tires, or fill the gas tank with sugar. You can't. Your wife too, Jessica, right? Works at the art gallery downtown? I bet she'd be very interested to know about those hotel receipts Leora mentioned. The ones with your name and Isla's name on them. This is extortion. No, this is a conversation between two men who both have something to lose. The difference is, I've already lost everything that mattered to me. You still have something left to protect. He's backing away from me now, his confidence evaporating like morning mist. Think about it carefully, Scott. You can keep pushing this, and I'll make sure everyone in your social circle knows exactly what kind of man you are. Your clients, your golf buddies, your wife's book club. I'll make you famous in all the wrong ways. You're insane. I'm motivated. There's a difference. I turn and walk away, leaving him standing next to his precious Porsche. Behind me, I hear him fumbling for his phone, probably calling Isla to report on our conversation. Back upstairs, I find the conference room empty, except for Leora, who's packing documents into her briefcase. Where's Isla? Gone. She said she needed to think about my offer. What did you tell her? The truth. That she has until Monday morning to decide whether she wants to cooperate or fight this in court. And if she chooses to fight, then I'll destroy her. Leora closes the briefcase and looks at me. You look like you've seen a ghost. I just had a conversation with Scott Williams. How did that go? About as well as you'd expect. He tried to threaten me. With what? Exposure. He seems to think my identity issues are more problematic than his fraud issues. Leora laughs, but there's no humor in it. He's not wrong about the identity complications, but he's underestimating my ability to make those complications disappear. Can you really do that? Cole, I'm worth about $200 million. I have lawyers who specialize in problems like this, and I have enough political connections to make sure your witness protection status gets resolved quietly. Why? I ask. Why go to all this trouble for me? Because you're my brother. Because I spent 22 years thinking you were gone, and I'm not losing you again. Even though I'm not the same person you remember? Neither am I. We'll figure it out. We take the elevator down to the parking garage together. Leora's driver is waiting with a black sedan that probably costs more than I make in a year. Can I give you a ride home? She asks. I should probably face Isla tonight. Get this conversation over with. Are you sure that's wise? Probably not. But I've been putting off difficult conversations for 12 years. Time to stop. She gives me her business card. Not the CEO card she showed earlier, but a personal one with her cell phone number. Call me if you need anything, and I mean anything. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. The drive home takes longer than usual because I keep taking wrong turns, my mind replaying the evening's revelations. By the time I pull into our driveway, it's past midnight. Isla's car is there, but the house is dark except for a single light in the kitchen window. I find her sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine and a stack of papers spread out in front of her. She looks up when I walk in, and I can see she's been crying. I was wondering when you'd come home, she says. This is still my home, isn't it? I don't know. Is it? I sit down across from her and look at the papers. Legal documents, bank statements, insurance policies, the paper trail of our marriage reduced to a pile of evidence. How long were you planning to keep this up? I ask. Keep what up? The act, the loving wife routine. Were you going to wait until Leora passed away naturally, or were you hoping for something more convenient? That's a terrible thing to say. It's a terrible thing to wonder about. But here we are. She refills her wine glass with shaking hands. I never wanted to hurt you. But you were willing to lie to me for 12 years. I was protecting you. From what? From the truth. From having to deal with all the complications of your real identity. That wasn't your choice to make. Wasn't it? You seemed happy with our quiet life. You never asked questions about my work. Never pushed for more information about my family or my past. You were content to let me handle the complicated stuff. She's not wrong, and that stings more than I want to admit. I did let her handle the complicated stuff. I was happy to be the quiet, dependable husband who didn't make waves. What about Scott? I ask. What about him? Do you love him? She's quiet for a long time, staring into her wine glass like it might contain answers. I don't know, she finally says. I thought I did, but maybe I just loved the idea of him. The idea of him? Someone who saw me as more than just a wife. Someone who treated me like I was important, like my opinions mattered. I always thought your opinions mattered. Did you? Or did you just agree with me because it was easier than arguing? Another hit that lands too close to home. How many times over the years had I nodded along with her decisions, her plans, her vision of our future, without really engaging with what she was saying? Maybe we both made mistakes, I say. Maybe. But mine were bigger. Yeah, they were. We sit in silence for a while, two people who've been married for 12 years discovering that we barely know each other. What happens now? She asks. I don't know. Leora wants you to cooperate with the investigation. And if I don't? Then she'll make sure you face the full consequences of what you've done. What do you want me to do? It's the first time in years that she's asked for my opinion about something that really matters. I want you to tell the truth, I say. All of it. To the investigators, to Scott's wife, to anyone else who deserves to know. That will ruin me. You ruined yourself. This is just the bill coming due. She starts crying again, and despite everything, I feel a flicker of sympathy for her. She made terrible choices, but she's still the woman I loved for 12 years. Will you help me? She asks. Help you how? Figure out how to make this right, how to minimize the damage. I think about it for a moment, weighing my anger against my exhaustion. I'll help you tell the truth, I say finally, but I won't help you avoid the consequences. That's fair. Is it? I'm not sure I know what fair looks like anymore. I stand up from the table, suddenly feeling every one of my 43 years. I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight, I tell her. Cole? Yeah? For what it's worth, I really did love you. Maybe not the right way, but I did love you. I know, I say. That's what makes this so hard. I leave her sitting at the kitchen table with her wine and her regrets, and climb the stairs to a guest room that feels more like home than the bedroom I've shared with her for over a decade. Tomorrow, I'll start figuring out who Cole Merrick really is now that he's no longer invisible. Tonight, I'm just going to try to sleep. I wake up Monday morning to the sound of my phone buzzing with text messages. 7 missed calls from Isla, 3 from numbers I don't recognize, and 1 from Leora that simply says, "It's started." The guest room feels strange in the morning light, too formal, too impersonal, like a hotel room where I'm just passing through, which, I suppose, is exactly what it is now. I can hear Isla moving around downstairs, the familiar sounds of her morning routine, coffee brewing, news program murmuring from the kitchen television, the click of her heels on hardwood as she gets ready for what might be her last day at Meridian Financial. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's a call from Leora. "How are you holding up?" she asks without preamble. "I've been better. What's the situation at the office?" Interesting. Isla arrived early and went straight to Scott's office. They've been behind closed doors for 45 minutes. "Are you monitoring them?" "Security cameras. It's my building now, remember?" "What are they saying?" "I can't hear the conversation, but body language suggests it's not going well." Scott keeps pacing, and Isla looks like she's been crying. I'm not surprised. Scott struck me as the type who'd throw her under the bus the moment things got complicated. "Have you decided what you want to do?" Leora asks. "About what?" "About your future. You can't stay married to someone who's been defrauding your family, and you probably shouldn't stay in a city where half the people think you're someone you're not." She's right, but the idea of starting over again at 43 feels overwhelming. "I need to see this through first," I tell her. "Make sure Isla faces real consequences for what she's done." "That's not your responsibility, Cole." "Maybe not, but it's something I need to do." "Revenge?" "Justice. There's a difference." "Sometimes. What did you have in mind?" I've been thinking about that all night, lying awake in an unfamiliar bed, staring at an unfamiliar ceiling. Scott threatened me last night, said he'd expose my identity issues if I didn't cooperate with their story. And I think it's time he learned that threats work both ways. "Cole, nothing illegal," I assure her. "Nothing violent, just some creative problem solving." What kind of creative problem solving? The kind that makes him understand exactly how much he has to lose. There's a pause while Leora considers this. "Do you need any resources?" she asks finally. "Maybe. Can you get me Scott's home address?" "I can do better than that. I can get you his entire financial profile." "How?" "Executive background checks are very thorough. I know about his mortgage, his car payments, his credit card debt, his wife's spending habits, and the fact that he's been skimming money from client accounts to maintain his lifestyle. He's been embezzling. Among other things, the forensic audit turned up several irregularities in accounts he manages. This keeps getting better. "Send me everything you have," I tell her. "Cole, be careful. I don't want you doing anything that could complicate your legal situation. Trust me. That's what I'm afraid of." After we hang up, I shower and dress carefully. Khakis, polo shirt, baseball cap. The kind of outfit that makes you invisible in suburban America. Then I drive to the office supply store and buy a few items: zip ties, duct tape, spray paint, and a prepaid cell phone. Scott's neighborhood is exactly what I expected. Oversized houses on undersized lots, each one trying to out-impress its neighbors. His house is a colonial revival, with a circular driveway and a 3-car garage. The Porsche is parked in the driveway. I park 2 blocks away and walk back, keeping to the sidewalk like any other pedestrian. It's 10:30 on a Monday morning, which means most of the neighbors are at work, and the ones who aren't are inside watching daytime television. Scott's front door has a security system, but his garage doesn't. The side door is secured with a standard deadbolt that takes me about 90 seconds to pick, a skill I learned in the military and never thought I'd need again. The garage is immaculate. Tools organized on pegboards, floor painted with epoxy coating, everything in its designated place. Scott's other car, a BMW sedan, sits next to empty space where the Porsche usually parks. I work quickly and quietly, zip ties around the BMW's tires, secured to the wheel wells so they'll make noise when the car moves. Duct tape over the security camera in the corner. Spray paint across the garage door. Thief in large red letters. Then I wait. Scott arrives home at 11:15, probably taking an early lunch to avoid the chaos at the office. I hear the Porsche's engine shut off, then footsteps approaching the garage. The side door opens, and Scott steps inside. What the hell? I'm standing behind his BMW, holding the prepaid phone like I'm recording video. Smile, Scott. You're going to be famous. He spins around, his face cycling through surprise, anger, and fear in rapid succession. You're trespassing, he says. Technically, yes, but I prefer to think of it as a home visit. Get out of my garage. In a minute. First, we need to finish our conversation from last night. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. I'm sure they'd love to hear about your embezzlement scheme. His hand freezes halfway to his phone. That's right, Scott. I know about the client accounts, the money you've been skimming to pay for hotel rooms and jewelry and whatever else you've been buying to impress my wife. You can't prove anything. I don't have to. My sister's forensic accountants already did that. The question is whether you want this to be a private conversation or a public one. I gesture toward the spray-painted garage door. Your neighbors are going to love that, by the way. Very artistic. You're insane. I'm motivated. We covered this last night. I take a step closer to him, and he backs against the workbench. Here's what's going to happen, Scott. You're going to call Isla right now and tell her that you can't help her anymore, that you're cutting all ties, professional and personal. And if I don't, then I'm going to make your life very interesting, starting with a phone call to your wife about those hotel receipts. Jessica already knows about Isla. Does she? Because according to the credit card records, you've been seeing at least 2 other women besides my wife. I doubt Jessica knows about all of them. The color drains from his face. That's right. My sister is very thorough. She knows about the account in the Cayman Islands, the condo you're renting under a false name, and the gambling debts you've been hiding from Jessica. This is blackmail. This is consequences. You made choices, Scott. Now you get to live with them. I hold up the phone again. Make the call. He pulls out his phone with shaking hands and dials Isla's number. Isla, it's me. We need to talk. No, not later. Now. Because I can't do this anymore. What do you mean, what can't I do? Any of it. The legal advice, the financial planning, the personal stuff. Because it's over, Isla. All of it. I don't care what you told them. Figure it out yourself. No, don't come to my house. Because my wife will be home soon and she doesn't need to see you. Isla, listen to me carefully. We're done. Don't call me, don't text me, don't show up at my office. If you try to contact me again, I'll file a restraining order. He hangs up and looks at me with pure hatred. Satisfied? Getting there. Now call your boss and resign. What? You heard me. Call Richard Hawthorne and tell him you're resigning effective immediately. I'm not doing that. Then I'm calling Jessica right now. I start dialing a number on the prepaid phone. Wait, he says. Wait. I'm waiting. If I resign, I lose everything. My pension, my benefits, my severance package. You're going to lose all that anyway when the embezzlement investigation concludes. This way, you get to keep some dignity. Some dignity? You spray-painted thief on my garage door. That was just to get your attention. The real humiliation comes if you don't cooperate. He makes the second phone call, his voice shaking as he explains to Richard that he's resigning for personal reasons and won't be returning to the office. Good, I say when he hangs up. Now we're getting somewhere. Are you finished? Almost. One more thing. I pull out a manila envelope and hand it to him. What's this? Divorce papers. Jessica's attorney filed them this morning. His face goes completely white. How? My sister had a very interesting conversation with your wife over the weekend. Showed her some photographs, some bank records, some hotel receipts. Jessica was surprisingly grateful for the information. You destroyed my marriage. No, Scott, you destroyed your marriage. I just made sure Jessica found out about it. I head toward the side door, then pause. Oh, and Scott, if you ever threaten me or my family again, this conversation will seem like a friendly chat compared to what happens next. I leave him standing in his ruined garage, surrounded by the wreckage of his carefully constructed life. Outside, I can see neighbors starting to gather, pointing at the spray-painted garage door and whispering among themselves. By evening, everyone in the subdivision will know that Scott Williams is a thief. My phone buzzes with a text from Isla. Scott won't take my calls. What did you do? I don't respond. Instead, I drive to Leora's office building, where my sister is waiting with a bottle of expensive whiskey and a smile that reminds me of our father. How did it go? She asks. Phase 1 is complete. Phase 1. Scott's neutralized. Now we deal with Isla. What did you have in mind? I pour myself a drink and settle into the leather chair across from her desk. Something poetic, I say. Something that fits the crime. Meaning? She married me for money she thought she'd inherit when you passed away, so let's show her exactly what she's lost. Leora raises her glass in a toast. To justice,